malaria and tuberculosis. And they have very strong stomach acids that not only break down the meat, but also the diseases that could be held in a carcass. And they actually use that as a defense mechanism, where if you get too close to a vulture, they will actually vomit up the contents of their stomach, including that nasty acid, and throw it right up into the face of an attacker. So you don't want to get too close to a vulture if it can do that to you. But of course, vultures also have eyesight that's over 8 times more powerful than ours, so they can spot a dead or dying animal in the infinite wilderness, and when one vulture sees it, they immediately drop down and alert the other vultures around that there is a free meal. And of course, unfortunately, vultures in Africa, as well as Asia, but even more so in Africa, are in terrible trouble. And of course, they are some of the most persecuted of all creatures. And there are many reasons for that, but the two worst are farmers and poachers. Farmers use a veterinary drug on their cattle, but I can't remember the name of it. And of course, when the cows die, the vultures consume it. It builds up in their systems, causes problems like kidney failure, and eventually it kills them. But also poachers are far worse. I mean, because they quite often kill vultures, because vultures give away their positions to park rangers, and they either shoot vultures or, even worse, they poison them. Because vultures only have one chick every 2 years, and quite often they bring food back to their nest, and if they bring poisoned meat back, they give it to their chick, and then that's 2 generations of vulture wiped out like that. And it's believed that in Africa now, vultures have been lost in about 85 to 93% of their range, and without these animals clearing up the carcasses of dead animals, then they're just going to pile up in the bush, and diseases like Ebola, malaria, botulism, tuberculosis, and all sorts will spread, and that won't just affect the wildlife, but also affect us. I know there are a lot of people who don't share my opinion of vultures or want to protect them because they are grim looking, but that's all down to the fact that vultures don't have feathers on their heads and necks because they need to plunge their heads inside a carcass without risking sullying their feathers with blood. And while people just look at a vulture and say they're ugly, I personally think that they are gorgeous. And they are an animal that we need to protect now more than ever. Of course, here is much of their range in Africa. As you can see, they have dropped considerably in much of their range, and to me that is absolutely heartbreaking. The final animal is probably the most fearless, memless animal on the planet. It is the ratel, or honey badger. Now, the honey badger is a member of the weasel family, and so they contain some of the meanest animals on earth, like weasels, stoats, otters, and wolverines. And the honey badger, like all members of the weasel family, are ferocious, fearless, and able to take on animals many times their own size. And as their name suggests, these badgers do love honey, but they also eat grubs, small mammals, and even snakes. They even have some immunity to venomous snake bites, where even if a snake like a black mamba bites a honey badger, they can just sleep it off, which is absolutely incredible. But they're also very intelligent animals, but there is no doubt that if I was to go up against a honey badger, it would probably shred me. I mean, they can scare off animals as big as leopards and even fully grown lions. And they have, like all members of the weasel family, they also have powerful jaws and teeth, and they can bite through flesh, bone, and even wire. In fact, this one here is actually a very famous honey badger who was in South Africa. His name was Stoffel, and he was a honey badger who could not be reintroduced to the wild, and so he was kept at an animal park. But he kept on escaping and just causing havoc. And it was actually a very funny program. I was in absolute hysterics. Like, no matter what his keeper did, Stoffel just kept managing to escape. It was absolutely hilarious. Of course, because honey badgers love honey, that's also bringing them into direct conflict with beekeepers, because quite often they raid beehives, and that means that they are now being persecuted by beekeepers because they're seen as a pest that should be exterminated. But I mean, there are people working to stop this conflict with like new ingenious ways to keep the honey badgers away from the beehives. But of course, honey badgers, as I mentioned, hold the world record for the most fearless animal on the planet. And I mean, they are maybe small, but they have bags of attitude, and not even a lion would come between a honey badger and its food. And as I mentioned earlier, there's no doubt if I was to get into a fight with a honey badger, it would no doubt shred me, and I would probably have to go to hospital to get patched up, and it would take more than a sticking plaster to fix me up. Because here are the badgers of the world. As you can see, there's our badgers, the European badger, like the true badgers, but there's also Asian badgers, Japanese badgers, and American badgers. Then there's the honey badger, then hog badgers, like in the greater hog badger, the northern hog badger, and the Sumatran hog badger. They're found in Southeast Asia. And then ferret badgers in Southeast Asia. There's the Burmese ferret badger, the Chinese ferret badger, Vietnam ferret badger, Javan ferret badger, and Bornean ferret badger. Basically, there's a lot of badgers around the world, but of course the badgers I'm most familiar with are European and the honey badgers. And here is their range in Africa. They even live in Saudi Arabia and parts of the Middle East and even India. But, yeah, they are quite widespread. That has been a redoing of my PowerPoint presentation on 18 animals of Africa. I hope you all enjoyed this again, and if you did, please drop a comment down below, but also check out my other videos. And also, just as a reminder, I will be doing some more redoing some more videos of my PowerPoint presentations from before, so do stay tuned for them. Hope you all have a good day. Bye now.